Sorry, Eugene, you're muted. Please mute yourself.
Have I been muted since?
No, just for a few seconds.
Oh, okay, okay, awesome. Okay, so I was talking about design thinking basically. So as at each stage of design, there's always going to be a thinking process behind it. What does this hope to achieve? It hopes to make sure that even before we design any form of interface, there is going to be there's going to be that research that backs all our decision making. So if I'm going to have a color green, for example, what is the idea behind having color green for an app like Spotify, or an app like even this Inera application that is new now? So if I'm going to have color red, for example, what is the idea behind having red for Netflix or having red for Tesla, for example? So each stage of design, there's always going to be a thinking process. Now, what is design thinking? It's essentially an iterative process where designers, and funniest part is this, it doesn't apply to only design. It's not just about UI UX now. Design thinking cuts across different spheres of science, of observation, of design, but it's not just particular about UI UX. So if I want to build systems, for example, now there needs to be thinking, research behind it. So this pre-design, design, post-design, there's always going to be research, and this research is tailored or centered around design thinking. So there are different stages of design thinking. One second, I think. Okay. I'm almost ready with my slides. I'm so sorry. So there are 5 stages of design thinking. So the beautiful part of it is that it's not a single line process. I can start from stage 5, I can start from stage 3, I can start from stage 2. These stages now, they include things like brainstorming, they include things like testing, things like prototyping, they include things like different stages entirely. So the brainstorming, for example, now is we are trying to gather as much data as possible. And the beauty of this is that there is no wrong answer. Let's assume I want to design an app for school children, for example, now. So I have, let's say, 7 designers, 1 developer, 1 product manager, then 1 product owner. So we are having a session where we are trying to brainstorm on the best possible solutions to meet the needs of school students. So I can say, okay, there should be no school, for example. That's an idea. Yes. Someone else can say they should learn from home 2 hours a day only. That's an idea. So there is no too crazy an idea to bring forth in our brainstorming stage. So the reason behind this is that once we move on in our design process, we now begin to know which parts or which particular idea is feasible, which particular idea meets the needs of our users. Because no matter how good the design is, if it doesn't meet the need of our users, it's basically a flawed design. And another thing again, people will always say this: the best designs are those designs that are not noticeable. The best designs are those designs that are not really noticeable. So if I am using your application and I don't notice any issue with it, it basically means it's a good design. So, but if I'm using the application, I'm always feeling some sort of way. I'm always tired or weighed down by the processes. There are too many clicks, for example. That's going to be a flawed design. And on that thing again, if I need to explain my design to a user, is a flawed design. So design is really, really broad. And that's why we can't overemphasize things like research. So I'll talk about brainstorming now. Things like testing is also important. So even before we look into things like the actual interface design using Figma and XD and stuff like that, now there can also be a testing stage. I'll call users, for example, to say, okay, this is a draft of what the design hoped to be. So there are different testing methods. I can use wireframes to just line up there and say users should just walk us through the process that they will go through in this particular design. That can be a testing stage, but that is now before actually designing. During designing now, there can also be a testing stage. After designing, there can also be a testing stage. So there's basically, that is to collect as much data as possible. Now, next is prototyping. Prototyping now is basically, we have the design already. So we are trying to simulate the actual workings after implementation, but with the users. So I have different mockups already for the design. Then I show it to, let's say, 4 or 5 persons. I ask them, okay, this is how it would look like in actuality. Yes. So walk us through, just basically go through the application or go through the software, go through the design. So the job of the designer now is to ask questions when they need to ask questions to the users. Ask them, okay, were there any form of hiccups, for example? Was there any form of ease when using so and so design? I remember a couple of weeks ago, I even asked Desmond here. I designed something for I designed a dashboard for a health software. Yes, a health design. So I asked him, I basically gave him the prototype and I asked some kind of questions. Questions I asked basically revolve around good UI and good UX and bad UX. So things like aesthetics now, things like usability, things like ease, those kind of questions. Now, if I ask you what's a good UX, what's a bad UX, so what you basically say is things like this: it's easy to use, it's easy to navigate, it solves users' problems, it is equitable, and then it is useful. What does these terms mean? If it is useful, yes, it basically means it solves the needs of the users. That is good UX. Now, number one. Now, is it usable? Is the fact that it has the relative ease of navigation. So if I give the user an application, it can easily, without aid from anywhere, navigate the application. Now, is it equitable? Means that if I give the application to maybe a color-blind person and to someone that has astigmatism or myopia and to someone that has normal vision, they will all be able to use the application. Quite all right. Now, the next one is aesthetics. Now, is it attractive to look at? If I give the application to anybody now, will they be happy to say, okay, it looks fine? You've seen apps like a big app or even Instagram, how they are looking, they are pleasing to look at. Yes. Now, if the app you are presenting is not appealing enough, that's going to be an issue. Then lastly, I think, what did I mention last? Um, okay. So that's basically good UX, bad UX, essentially. My network is really, really bad. I honestly don't know why. Working now. Okay. Okay. One more second, please. I'm so sorry.
Can you guys hear me? Joy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I hope you guys are following, and I hope you are
I
taking
can hear
notes.
you. I can hear you.
Okay, I know. Are you set up now? Okay, let me continue what I was saying. So I hope you guys are taking notes of the important things he's saying. And the reason why I'm saying this is because from now on, your classes will mainly be practical.
One moment, please.
Yeah. So it's very important that you take note of these fundamental explanations. If this is your first time ever hearing it before, so it's good you just at least pen something down. So you always have something to fall back to. So I hope you guys have been enjoying the class so far. Okay. I would prefer you unmute yourself because feel free to unmute and speak. I hope you've been enjoying the class. Hope you're learning something new.
Some
Abel.
parts are possible.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
At a point, the audio will see, so I'm not getting everything. But
Okay, the
perhaps I'm trying to get the video at the end of the class.
okay. He's back now. Hope, uh, when you're ready, you unmute yourself, Eugene. So, Jola, what about you?
Can you all hear me now?
Yeah, I
Congratulations.
hear you.
Okay. Oh, so sorry. So let me set up my slides real quick. So back of my slides, they are from different boot camps that I had attended. So this one is from Zurich. There's one from Trefford, and then there's one from the HCD. So basically compiled different materials from different boot camps and stuff like that. So I'll send a Google Drive link to the WhatsApp group after this class. You can see it, please let me know. Is it up yet?
Yeah, it's coming up.
Yeah, it's up now.
Okay then. So I've basically given us a general overview of what UI design is. So let me just run through the slides now. And if there are okay, before then, are there any questions let's tackle before we proceed? Any questions? Okay, so look at this particular slide. You see UI and UX. So what can you see from this first picture here? This first picture, you see that um, the first one now, user interface. There is this ketchup bottle, and it looks really attractive. Yes. The issue with this is that if we want to get ketchup from this bottle, it will be rather difficult because of the small opening. not hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Yes, we
you.
can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. So whilst the second one now is there's a bigger opening, so there is basically a better experience with this particular ketchup bottle. So basically, what we are trying to achieve is a balance of aesthetics and usability. So if any design that we are working on doesn't have that sense of balance, I cannot say it is beautiful to look at and it's easy to use. Then it's a flawed design, essentially. Now, what is UI? UI basically covers um, a lot of aspect of design and science. There is a human factor, there is architecture, there is content, there is um, sound design. Funny enough, there's things like interaction design. So we cannot tackle every single aspect. As you go on in the design career, you'll be able to specialize on where you would want to focus on. But at now, I'm basically going to touch small aspects of each side. Now, things like if you look at architecture now, this part, that's Microsoft, this information architecture is going to be useful for our user experience design because it basically maps out the flow of our users' journey through the designs. Now, if we're looking at things like human factor, it cuts across every part of the design from start to finish. The fact that we are going to be designing for users is a human factor. Our basically human-centered designers, essentially. Now, interaction designs. Now, if you are on Twitter, for example, if you click on the like button, that small interaction that pops up, that small flash that pops up, is people that are interaction designers are those that have made those particular micro interactions. Things like context, for example, now there are things like UX writers. Those particular guys now are those ones that basically write the things that you see on websites, on applications. The copies basically are the jobs of content writers, the UX writers, stuff like that. So we cannot do everything, but as we advance in the design journey, we'll be able to pick what we want to focus on and visualize it. Now, this here is what I was trying to talk about before, the design thinking process. So there are different stages of design thinking, yes. First one, ideally, is empathize. Yes. Then there is the define stage, the ideate stage, prototype stage, the test stage, and implement stage. So, like before, the thing is not a straightforward process. Yeah. So I can basically start from the stage of testing. I can start from the define stage, the ideate stage. So why is this? The fact is, I can have an already existing product like let's say WhatsApp, yes, and I want to improve upon it. So what do I do first? I can start with the testing. So I call let's say 20 users, for example, to use WhatsApp, and then I record their responses. I see how the someone talking please. I record their responses. I see how they interact with the design. Then from the research I have gathered, what I have found, I proceed to let's say define the problems that I found after testing. I'll ideate, basically brainstorm. Then I'll come up with new ideas, empathize with users, and come up with better ideas. Then I'll now design, prototype again, and then I'll test. So it's not a straightforward process. It's rather an iterative process, step by step. But then any method or any stage can come in. Now this is empathize stage. Basically, in this particular stage, yeah, we basically set aside assumptions because we are trying to remove ourselves from the picture and put our users first because they are the ones we are designing for. So we would basically do things like who are our users, the demography, the age, occupation, level of tech savviness, are they educated, are they educated, are they professionals, what class of persons are they exactly. So what kind of product are we designing for them? Is there a business behind what you are designing for? Yes. Is there an already existing customer base or already existing product? So basically, he wants to know as much as we want, as much as we can know about the product and about the users in this first stage. So when empathizing now, but it's basically research. So what do we do in empathizing? Basically research. We gather data, we document our data, we talk to persons, we have stakeholder meetings, user like meetings with stakeholders, with users, businesses that are associated with the idea we're trying to work on, all in the bid to basically collect enough data to work with, essentially. So I'll send the slides to you later. Now, what's the next stage of the design thinking process? We define the problem. So we know that these are our users. We know these are their needs. So what is the problem we're trying to solve? Because if you don't know what the problem is, we'll just be designing without an end in mind. So basically define and map out the problems that our users are facing. So as we go on, there's what we call a user persona. So basically this is a it can either be it can either be fictional or real. But the goal is it basically shows us who we are designing for, the age, the demography, the pain points, and things like that. So user personas now are those it basically captures our users at a glance, essentially. So in our trying to define who our users are, we draft out a couple of personas as well. Let's move on. Now there's also the empathy map. So this one now will be useful in terms of user interviews. So after we have known our users now, define their problems, we'll now talk to a few of them. Yes. So we'll learn to draft out questions now. Then while we are talking to them, we'll document what they are saying, we document what they think about this problem, solutions that are available already. We document what they are doing about getting around the problem to solve their own problems by themselves. Exactly. Then we basically document how they feel about the entire thing. So this is a map that shows our users and what they do to overcome the existing problems. You see a lot of this as we go on. Usually though, okay, as maybe in our next session, I'll show us the interface we're working with, which is Figma. Figma now has let's say sister um, interface, which is called FigJam, basically for our UX designs. We can have things like sticky notes now to just document our research, just like that. Before now, there was an app called Miro, but Figma already has this FigJam, so it is a lot easier to do things like this empathy mapping, documentation, and the likes. Next thing is ideate. So what do we do in our ideate stage? So basically, in this ideation stage now, we tend to want to prefer as much solutions to the problem as we can gather. Like I said before, is the different stage, the different methods in which we can ideate. Yes. So what we can do is that things like Crazy Eight, for example. So Crazy Eight now is a brainstorming idea. I think we'll do that tomorrow. It's a brainstorming method where we would want to get as much ideas out as possible in 8 minutes. You get. So let's assume we are 30 in a group, or let's say five in a group. Yes. So we want to say, okay, the problem is there are too many people walking the streets at night, for example. What possible solutions can we provide? So there'll be a timing. In 8 minutes, write down as much ideas as you can. Exactly. So there are different methods of brainstorming. Either do that tomorrow or something else, or mind mapping. Okay, no, let's see what tomorrow brings though. So the next one is prototyping. I said before, it's essentially trying to simulate how the solution would look like on paper, like on either on Figma or in real time. So as UX designers, UI designers now, if we I'll show you a few of my designs and prototype as well. So if we have um, a design already of an application and we want the users to see how far they have come, or not even the users now, let's say your boss, for example, because your boss may not necessarily appreciate the Figma sketches and the likes. Because once you have done the initial research, you've done the design, and now you have a mock-up that you can show to your boss, yes, you can basically give him a prototype, a simulation or a walkthrough of all the screens you have designed. So that's not just for him alone, your developers, because as designers now, you are part of a team, a bigger team. So once you design, you test, you now implement. So those guys now that implement are your engineers, your software developers, your front end, your back end. So if you have a working prototype, it basically explains every single thing that your software or your design will be doing. So there's no need for back and forth with the developer saying, okay, once you click on here, you should go here. Once you click on here, you should go here. So it's already outlined or simulated on your prototype. Okay, so a bit about the prototype now. There are things called wireframes. There are things called low fidelity designs, high fidelity designs. So usually, personally though, I am more of a traditional person. So I basically for wireframes now, yes, wireframes are like the most basic templates or the most basic look of your design. So it could be black and white, it could be pen and paper drawn, it could basically be anything that represents your idea, but at its lowest form. Someone like me now, I prefer paper and pencil to basically draft out how my um, design will look like. That's like the most basic form of a design. Now, once we enter Figma, now we basically draft it out. Say, okay, so and so screen should come first, so and so screen should come first. So, at the core of it is that is you are basically sketching your thoughts in paper. Now, moving on now, there's now you are now applying um, feel to it. That's now the high quality designs. So basically, those ones are like almost completed before you now start iterating. So you apply your color, you apply your typography, things that should make it as real as possible. Now, this first one here now is paper sketch. A designer has been given a contract now. I am supposed to design a fine. I want to bring my idea to paper. What am I supposed to have first? I would have the frame, which is like the screen. I'll have like maybe an illustration. Then I'll have maybe a small text behind. Then a CTA's call to action is like a button, my button, secondary button. So I basically represent it on paper. Then I move on to my Figma board, Adobe XD board, and I design it. So I represent it in the barest form, which is now a low fidelity design. Now, moving on, now I'll iterate and apply more detail to it. Add the logo, add the color, and things like that. So that's now the high fidelity design. So it's not advisable to jump steps now. So I can have some designers do it for documentation. There's what we call a case study, for example. Now, so a case study is like all your processes from start to finish. Yes. So most designers now they are too lazy to. Okay, I won't call it lazy though, but they just don't want to go through the hassle of doing this initial stage. So they just jump onto high fidelity designs without any form of paper sketch or low fidelity. So what they do now is after the high fidelity designs, they come back to remove color, remove text, make it plain as possible, and they just it's like reverse engineering their designs so they can now form a case study. But it's not really advised. It's not really advised. It's advisable to document each step as you go. If you have to snap your pencil drawings, do it. It's your design. Nobody will fault you for it. It's your design. So before we okay, this is also a wireframe. Is low fidelity design is like as low as possible, not too much detail. You see, some of them have there's what called lorem ipsum, it's like dummy text. So some designs now have dummy text and stuff like that. So you see now on the left hand side here we have the low fidelity, there's no color, there's no logo, there's no detail, there's very clean positioning. On the right hand side, you have more detail, there's more color, there's more basically it has more life essentially. The left hand side is as bare as possible. Right hand side is like a computer design. And so before we move on to this, are there any questions? Let's entertain a few questions. We're talking since morning. So any questions so far? Questions, please. At least one before proceed.
You guys been following. I think you noise in the background. Just for a second.
Yes.
Saeed, have you been following?
Are there no questions? If there are no, I'll ask you.
Yes, yes, I've been following so well. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question for you guys though. So from
Oh, awesome.
good explanation actually. The reason why I'm asking it is not to make anybody seem as if they are not following or anything, but just to reinforce the learning, just to ensure that okay, you really took note of that. So you mentioned something about wireframing and low fidelity design. Do you guys understand what that is? Can anybody explain or does you have an idea of what it is? Crypto stuff. Can you explain?
Sorry, I don't know what that is. So
Okay. Mabel. Mabel, can you hear me? Mabel. Okay. Um.
hello, I can hear you.
Okay. Can you answer the question? Did you get the question?
No,
Okay. Were you following his explanation? Have you been following what he has been saying?
no, the network was disturbing. So
Okay. Oluwaseun raising her hand. You can unmute from your. I
Can
can't.
you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Okay, the question is wireframe, right?
Yes. What
Wireframing.
they
I
say, yeah.
think he said something like this the basic template look of your design, something like black and white or in pen and paper or something like that. Did you get me?
I did. Thank you very much. Yeah. Do you guys get that? So the reason why I'm asking is because this class is supposed to be a an okay. So this class is supposed to be a very interactive class. And if it's not an interactive class, when you guys get to the project stage, you might find it difficult. So this is an opportunity for you to ask questions. If you find a term strange, you have to ask so that you learn it, because it's not a scenario where you just let it slide. If you let it slide, it will affect you later. So this is an opportunity for you to learn. Just feel free anytime you heard something and you're not sure about it, just unmute and ask. Or if you don't want to disrupt the class, you can drop it in the question section. In fact, I would always open up a Q&A section here to allow anybody drop their questions. There's a Q. I think you can see something Q&A pop up on your screen or something like that. So you can always ask your question. That's the fastest way to learn so that you would easily get on blockers. So he has mentioned a lot of things, and I'm not so sure that everybody grabbed it. Me, I grabbed it because I'm familiar with some of the terms. But for persons who are not familiar, it's going to be a tricky concept. Like, what's the difference between a low fidelity design and a wireframe? You get Jola, do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I do. I understand what you're saying.
Okay, good. So please just let him continue. If you don't understand any particular part, just like I said, just quickly ask so that when we move from one stage to the other, we will not have any learning gap that will have to take us back to the previous stage. Time is up here. Hmm? So thank you very much. And Eugene,
Sorry,
please you can
sorry,
continue.
sorry. Can I say something?
Okay.
His network is actually bad, so we can barely hear him. Also, I don't know. Like there's a noise in the background. I don't know if it's just me alone that is hearing the noise.
Okay. Eugene, I think the noise might be coming from an appliance or so. Maybe like a fan or something. Eugene, can you hear me? Hello, Eugene. Eugene, I think his network is bad. Eugene, can you hear me? Let me reach out to him. So there is a feature that is available on Google Meet that allows you to perform noise cancellation. So if you are using a system, you can always click on the options. Okay, he's back. Eugene, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I can.
Okay, your network kicked you out before. So
Yeah.
I was say that there was a buzzing sound. Ehen. So you can continue. You can
Okay.
continue.
Okay. So let me just ask a question. So I said a lot of things, but at the core, um, I want like someone or two persons to at least say a thing or two that they have grabbed that is important to them. So I say from UI UX, I talked about research, I talked about design thinking, I talked about a lot of things. So one thing that you have been able to grab at least before we proceed. Anybody?
Okay, so I would like to say I've learned that your designs should be able to speak for themselves. So when you
Okay.
design and you have to explain, I think it defeats the purpose of visibility and extensive
Mm-hmm.
so that people can really at the first glance. And the other thing I picked is if people don't have a complaint about your designs, it means it's good. So it's not like I download an app, I'm looking for where the settings is, or I have to do a lot of clicking, which people don't really like, and all those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Jola. That makes so sense. That was total sense. Who wants to go next?
Okay, so I was able to pick what you said about the design process stage that I think the empathize stage that will have to let go of previous assumptions or bias that we already have
Yeah.
about the user, the product or something. I just focus on the users, so I was able to get that.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Who's going next? One more person. Okay, no one's talking. Okay, so I would present my screen and show us the interface of Figma. But before we do that, moving on, what we'll be working on is an idea of our own design. So we are we have like 5 here, yes. So I want us to think of different ideas that we can work on and or let's say I want us to think of problems that we can work on and design a solution for them. So someone like me now, I can say I think my first design was about transport, was for an e-commerce platform. So I saw the problem of missing in transit. So I order from, let's say, Jumia, from Lagos down to, let's say, Abuja or Warri, and what I ordered was somehow misplaced. So that was a problem. That's when most persons have been facing. So the design I worked on was a tracking application that would track each product I order from the points of order to points of delivery. Do you understand? So that was an idea I worked on as the first design ever. So now for us, I want us to think of an idea. Yes. So we will do all our research, we do all our low fidelity designs, we do all our everything about it, but for each idea we come up with. So someone can, let's say, Inumidum could work on fintech or health tech. She wants to solve issues of, let's say, first aid in Nigeria, for example, using an application. And then, okay, I'll ask this question. Using an application, someone like, let's say, Jola can work on maybe cryptocurrency, how to make it as seamless as possible. Someone like Joy could think of maybe ways to make education as easy for older people as possible. So in the next 10 minutes, let's just come up with our own ideas. So for the next weeks, last couple of weeks, we're working on all following.
Yes.
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 Are we
Yes.
there?
Yeah, I think we're all here.
Hello?
Yes, can
We
you
can hear
hear?
you.
Can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so in our next class, we'll just give us the ideas that we're working on. So in the next 2 minutes now, I'll present my screen to show us Figma interface, show us how an idea brief ought to look like. So the ideas we're working on now, we'll basically create an idea brief for them. So we'll proceed from there. So let me just present my screen again. Hold on, please.
Hello, Eugene. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I'm trying to pull out my documents. I should be here in like 2 more minutes.
Okay. So, how many persons are joining in using their laptop? If you're joining in using your laptop, you can just indicate in the chat session. Just indicate. Are you joining in using your laptop? Because I expect at least most of us to indicate. Jola, are you joining in using your laptop?
No, I'm not joining. I have my laptop on with me, but I'm joining with my phone. But I'm doing a follow up with the apps and every other thing. It's opened on my laptop.
Okay. Okay. Joy, what about you? Mabel, Said, Oluwaseun, OJ. Hey guys, joining.
Yes, yes, on the
I'm
laptop.
using,
I'm joining. Okay.
I'm using my phone.
I'm using my phone also, but I have a laptop here with me.
I'm
Okay.
using my phone also.
My laptop is here, sure.
Okay, good. You guys should open up your Figma application so that when he slides, when he's ready, when his system is ready to share his screen, you can follow along. So when you watch the video on Figma, what did you think about it? I shared the video on the group and I said it's part of the resources that I'll be sharing to help you with your learning. So when you guys watched the video about Figma, what did you think about it? Have you ever used any software? Obviously, if you're here, that means you most likely not use software. You've not mastered Figma software. What do you think about it? You think it solves the problem? What do you think? Just express yourself. Tell me. No right or wrong answer. You can unmute and I don't have to call anybody at random. Just feel free. Okay. It was really captivating. Said said it was, and he's looking up, he's looking forward for more. Okay, interesting.
It
What
seems like, it looks like an application that will be easy to use. That's what I feel like, oh,
yeah,
because almost everything is just around. What you just need is just there, and it's connected to the internet, so you can even download stuff.
uh, did you guys also notice that the application?
I noticed that it can also be what you can use the application offline mode. Like once you log in, you can disconnect your data and still continue your project. And once you want to continue or update it, just connect back to your internet.
Yeah. What else? What else did you guys notice? I don't want to call names. Just unmute. Let this class be interactive. Just tell me if you watched the video. If you didn't watch it, it's okay. You can watch it later today. But if you've watched it, please tell me one of the things you noticed in the video he's already presenting. So, Eugene, when you're ready, remember that your mic is muted.
Okay, I'm all set now.
Okay. And there's this buzzing sound coming from your side. Starting.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, there's one buzzing sound. Very loud buzzing sound.
If you are charging your laptop or your phone, that's when the sound will be there.
Can you disconnect the charger?
Hold on, please.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting. Okay, so while he's setting up, so tell me, what did you get? What other things did you get from the video? It's important that you share this because Figma is going to be a software that you are going to start using like WhatsApp to ensure that you deliver on your tasks. So, what else did you notice about the software? If you've never used the software before, what features does it have? What things can it do? What was it built for? So just tell me, just Mabel, what do you think?
Okay, I think the app has many node innovators that you can use to create unique designs. Hello, can you hear me?
I heard that. I
Okay.
said,
Yeah, and you can easily import and place images.
yeah. So you can even drag. You can just drag
Yes,
an image and drop
and
it
just
there.
place your image.
Yeah. You know what's even cool? You can drag an image from a browser, like you Google something on Google Chrome, and you can just select that image and drag it all the way from Google Chrome into your app, and it automatically downloads it. So that's one cool feature. Also, Figma.
I also noticed that you can also collaborate with other designers and work with your clients, and they see how you are working or make real life adjustments as you guys are working together. So the distance is not a barrier.
Yeah, that's one reason why Figma blew up. In fact, outside the reason that it's free, here, Figma blew up because of its ability for teams to collaborate. I, as a designer, you can work with the developer. All you have to do is just send him a link. Before, people used to design UI UX. People used to make UI designs with Photoshop long, long ago. They used to use Photoshop. So by the time you design your design, you have to send it as PNG to the person that wants to start building the product. Then the person now has to use their own head to figure out what your design is all about. And outside of that, self, the person can it leaves it creates a room that is open to varying interpretations, which was a problem. So in real time, different designers, instead of sharing PSD files, that is Photoshop design files among themselves, they can collaborate real time on a single project like you guys are going to be doing in your project. So you guys would have one particular task that you'll be given, and everybody will log in from their system and they will see themselves you guys will see yourselves collaborating. Eugene, are you ready? Hello, Eugene. Okay, I guess he's not ready. So we'll just continue the action. I'm pretty sure by next class we will not have all these issues. So it's usually like this.
Wait,
Um,
can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you now. Now I can hear you. No noise. All these issues. So it's usually like this. Okay, what I think you should do is that you should plug in earpiece into the other device because we're getting feedback. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. What about the sound behind? Is it still there?
No, it's not there again. No noise.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so this document I pulled up now is like a product
Okay,
brief.
what you should do is that you should plug in earpiece into the other device because you're getting it.
Oh, okay.
I think we can still hear ourselves though. We have to get your feedback.
Yes, we can see here because his network
Is
is
it better?
slow, so it takes some time. Yes, it's better. It's better.
Is it better?
Yes, it's
Yeah, I
better.
think so.
It's better. Are you aware that you're on mute, Eugene? Okay. So network will not allow us to have peace. Ah, so I was explaining how fantastic it is now as an opportunity for people to collaborate with designers, other designers and people in other teams. And Eugene, your mic is muted. We can't hear you.
Wow. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I think there's a lag. It's a lag.
Yes.
Yes, there was a lag. Your network is slow, so that's why there's a lag.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear, loud and clear.
I think I don't know what the issue is now, but can you hear me without any form of noise in the background?
Yes, we
Can you hear
can hear
me?
you.
Awesome. Okay. So I was saying now that this document is a product brief for the app I was talking about before. So throughout the course of the bootcamp, I'll send this as well to us tonight. Then we'll just draft out according to this particular template for our ideas. So just have you take your time to work to think of what you want to design, be it fintech, be it health tech, be it edutech, what form of design you want to do. Then what it will contain is what your idea is about. Let's say, for example, now we don't want to design um for FBN, for example, Central Bank of Nigeria, and right Central Bank of Nigeria. Then the app is e-money, yes. Then you write what e-money is about. What problem does e-money solve, for example? Now, who are we designing e-money for? Yet, so I'll send this template to us. How will e-money be used? Where will it be used? Will it be used in the office? Will it be used in the marketplace? Will it be used at home? Things like that. Then who will be using it? Demography of the persons now, the age bracket, and what professionals they are. They're businessmen, marketmen, office workers, for example. Who are they exactly? Now, what is their level of tech savviness? How educated are they? Do they need to know how to code first before they can use our application? Do they need to have a background in, let's say, maths, for example, before they know how to use our application? Or they just need to know how to read and write first. Exactly. Then next thing now, as product designers, that we need to focus on the business of the designs. So, what business opportunities now would we be hoping to get from this idea we're trying to design? If there is no money, because to an extent, yes, we are designing so that those people that are investors now can see our ideas and key into our ideas. So, if there is no business opportunity, nobody will want to invest or pay your idea any mind. So we will need to focus on the business as well. So if we have e-money in the general public, now it can rake into so and so revenue, so and so. So there will be a need to have figures, statistics, for example, for our product. So this one doesn't really have much because it's my very first design. Now, lastly, things like location of our product. Is this going to be used globally in Africa alone, in just West Africa? Is it going to be used in just Nigeria? Who is going to use it? Is it from people of 24 to maybe 65, people of 12 to maybe 50? Are they male? Are they female? Are they transgender? Basically, basic information about our products and about our users, as basic as possible. So let's look at Figma now. Let's share this instead. If you can see, let me know, please. Can you all see
Yeah, we
this?
can.
Okay, then. So it's a very simple interface. We just have our left panel, our right panel, and our title panel, our title bar here. Then our toolbar by the left. So Figma is, I think I was hearing you guys talk about your experience with Figma, and it's really easy to use. So before now, people design softwares to design interfaces. And if you are handing off to developers now need to crack their heads to get the assets that they will need from your design. And it is really, really difficult to do that. So what Figma does now is that you can easily just give the developer this particular page to design and to just implement. So now as designers now we need to master to an extent the basics of the interface. So if you look now, we have our title back here. Just say study hub, for example. Study hub. This is our title here. Then this is our toolbar. So this is our picker tool. We basically use it to pick anything on the interface. Now this one here is our frame. What is a frame? A frame is like an artboard. It's basically the cases that we will need to work on. So if we click on frame here, you will see on this right side, you see phone, you see tablets, you see desktop. So all these things are basically things that we are going to work within the jurisdiction provided. So let's say now I want to design for an iPhone X. I'll click on phone here. I'll see iPhone X here, 11 Pro, iPhone X. So this is the frame. So they are basically predetermined um, dimensions of phones, of social media assets, or basically any frame at all. We can even have things like A4 paper here. See A4 here. So basically you see the size already determined here. So you click on this here, you see the size of A4. You understand? So now as UI UX designers now we're basically working with our phones. So we can click on any frame now. Click on press F, for example, you see phones here. I want to design for iPhone 11, iPhone 13 Pro Max. Click on it here. You see it here. So if we design whatever our design is going to be respective to the iPhone design system. We'll talk about that later. But essentially now this is the size of an iPhone 13 Pro Max, and we're designing according to this particular frame. You understand? So now on our left panel, we'll see different layers here. So the layers now, you know how layers are like onions now. So one brick upon on that brick. So you can have one on top of the other. Let's let's do this. Let's have okay. Next tool is shape tool. So let's use that to explain the layers panel. So let's say I am drawing a rectangle, for example. It's colored ash or gray, and I'm drawing. Click on this here. You see another shape coming. I'm drawing a circle, for example. Now let's apply color fill here. So let's have this on top of this. So the layers now is the fact that one is on top, one is beneath it. So I can easily drag this one to the top. It covers it. So different layers are going to be outlined in this particular left panel. So as we go on, you will know how to manipulate the layers, how to hide them, how to lock them, how to basically put them where you want to put them. Next is our pen tool. So as UI UX designers, you may not need to use our pen tool much at all. You don't need to use it at all, honestly, unless you are into illustrations. But as just UI UX designers, you don't need to use it. But essentially, though, what it does is it allows you to draw lines conveniently as possible. You can just do illustrations of maybe things like icons, things like um, arts that may be on your splash screen or your onboarding screen, things like that, logo designs even on Figma. You can even apply fill to it as well. Now, next is our pen tool, to our text tool rather, to basically add text to whatsoever we are working on and increase the size from here. Now, there's this misconception that people tend to have. Now, this thing here, this roboto, people say it is font, it's font, it's font, but it's not really font. It's called typeface. So now the typefaces are really are that different. There are a lot. It's it's good to experiment with typefaces, so but it's also good to keep it as simple and plain as possible so you don't confuse your users now. Or because there are some typefaces that are particular to some kind of designs. I want to design for Gen Zs, for example. There's going to be a playful feel to design, so the typeface would need to carry that playfulness as well. If I want to design for a corporate organization, I would need to have like a more serious kind of look, so the typeface would have that seriousness to it as well. Now, so this is typeface, yes. What we know as fonts now is this: we have regular, we have thin, we have black, we have basically all these things you are seeing here that known as the font of the typeface. So typeface is different, font is different. So as designers now, technologies you will get to know will begin to increase as you go along. Well, what else do we need? Okay, so this is that for that. I would pull up an example of an app and it may be a prototype. Then we'll just open the floor for questions, then call it a night for today. Let me go back to my drafts so I can pull up any already designed work. Um, Hold on, please. Okay, yes, before I proceed, there's also one important kit that Figma has. Figma has a community. It's like a social media, but not social media. What it does is that it's like open source community now where designers can just design stuff and just upload online. So you as a designer now can go there and source for inspiration and just um, collect or edit accordingly to fit your own designs. So it's like a click and drop sometimes. Some designers have already designed mood boards or designed apps that you want to take maybe their design system from, or take their color palette only, their photography scale, things like that. So there's a community of, let me just show you real quick. So this is Figma community here. So let's assume now I'm looking for inspiration on an e-commerce application. I don't know what to do. I just come to the Figma community here. I just search on maybe e-commerce. If there's anything on e-commerce, it will pop up here. Okay, so we have an e-commerce website here. We have e-commerce UI kit. So one very important thing that it enables us to have access to is keys that we can just collect and just replicate, or collect and just make use of. So if I click on any one of them now, let's say this e-commerce UI kit, for example, now I can just duplicate it and just work with it, change the color or anything I want to do. So these have been designed by somebody else before, but and it has been published to the community so that we can make use of it. Let's duplicate this and see how it looks like. Okay, so this is someone else's design that was published in the community. So I can just look at each page now, components page now. I'll see components. So components now are how do I explain this? So it will be difficult to edit every single article in a wide scale of things. Like you have a design that is over a 100 screens back. So we work with components so that we can easily just make changes to the master components and it changes across board. So components now are like this. If I have this particular uh, headphone button on screens 1 to 30, for example, and I want to change the color of this headphone, I can just come to the master components and change the color. It will change everywhere. That's like the work of a component. So now I can say I want to make use of this title page component of this design that has been published by somebody else. I can say I want to make use of this button or this rating. So it basically helps us design faster because there are assets already in community that we can make use of. Get. So I can say, okay, what are the icons that they use? I can copy the icons and make use of as well. I can say, okay, what pages did he design for his e-commerce website? Okay, so he did this, he did this. I can study this. I can study the designs. I can use this to work on my own design. Get. So okay, he did this particular logo like this. It's centralized here. His avatar is over here. Why he do this? Why he do that? I can just study what he has done and then take inspiration from what he has done, then use to make my own design. So that is like the is like a tutorial in itself that Figma that has already put in place for designers to work with. So does it have a prototype? Let's see. Okay, so he has a prototype here. So I can just click on play here and it take us to the prototype page. So whatsoever he prototype, we can see it easily. If, like I said before, now the prototype is a simulation of what we have designed. So how it will look like on my iPhone, for example, is what will be represented on this prototype screen. Very low. Let us see what he did. So most of them are really heavy. So that's why it may take time to load. So let's just we're almost done with this though. Um, almost done with it. So you can see he has 9 screens designed. Okay, to move again.
Okay, I think Eugene is having a challenge with his network again. So far, have you guys gotten anything new? Have you have you tried out what he has been showing you? Can you explain the difference between a layer and a frame? Do you know what a layer is? I think he mentioned something about layers. So who wants to try?
Layer is more like the arrangement of your work, how you want them to appear, the ones you want on top and the things you want underneath. Why the frame is more like the artboard where you work on, where you put your stuffs.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly true. Um, what other thing again did he mention? Can someone just unmute and tell me one additional thing that he got?
He was saying something about the community, which is fascinating, that you can get resources for what people and implement them, get inspirations from the community, and it helps your work. I was saying something too about components and elements that can help you on multiple, like when you're working on like let's say 100 pages, and you
Okay.
need the color or something, you can do it on one and it's going to reflect instead of changing one by one, which is going to take a whole lot of time.
Yeah, that's true. He mentioned components, and you guys are going to be using components a lot. Both designers and developers make use of components. So components are reusable and they are very important when you're designing or building anything. What other thing again did you get? Said, Inumidum. Hello, Said. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. So, Eugene just sent me a message and he said that his system is having a challenge. Okay, can you hear me? Sorry, I had to switch my device. Forgot to mute. So he said his system is having a challenge. He wanted to show you guys a prototype, but that's when his system froze. So what I would do, if you guys can you hear me? If you can hear me, please respond. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So what I would do is I would just quickly log into my own Figma and show you some of my old designs. I am not a designer. I I design because I develop. So I write code. That's one of the skills I have. I write code. And I'm going to show you it's loading. I'm going to show you some of the tacky old designs I made. Let me share my screen. Uh, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, cool. Where do I see my designs now? Okay, they are loading. Okay, so in this section here, this is where you usually find your designs. So I have a lot of crappy designs. So these are all your artboard files and stuff that you've done before. So what I want to show you, or what he wanted to show you, was the option to prototype. So let me show you this design first. This is Desmond's portfolio. This was a design I was trying to make for a portfolio website, my own personal portfolio website. I never really had the opportunity to complete it because I had so many things going for me. So usually you hear that many developers, not just me, have issues completing their project, their own personal project, or rather, it's easy for them to complete other people's project. So these are designs. These are examples of designs that I've worked on. This is a page and different frames all combined together down to this. Let me zoom in here so you can see it. So something like this. Yeah, something like this. So as you can see, these are designs. They are just static. Nothing is happening. You notice they're just plain, they're just static, nothing is happening. But if I go back and I come here and I prototype that exact same design, see what happens. This okay, you can see that this design was made last year. So let's see what happens when I try to prototype it. Hope you all can still see my screen.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The screen is too large. It's too large for my feet to scale. This was what's supposed to happen. Let me refresh it. So a prototype is just to show realistically how that design would present itself in a real world situation. So by the time the app is built, or by the time the product is built, what then happens? How would users interact with that design? Let me restart it. So in my own design now, that's the loading screen. Although I told you it's a crappy design, that's the loading screen, and these are components that are supposed to appear. They will appear here, here, here. And I've already prototyped it to say that if I click on any of these sections of this page, it's supposed to take me somewhere. If I click on this, it's supposed to transition and take me to a section. It's not live. Oh, this is just my design. This is what prototyping can do for you. It can allow you represent your design in such a way that it makes it look as if it's live. So I can click on see more, and it takes me to a new section where I can even slide, and I can go back to the about me page, and it takes me to the about me page. I can slide and navigate and stuff like that. This, like I mentioned, this design is not complete. If I go back to portfolio, it takes me to portfolio. If I go back to about me, it takes me to about me. If I click on this, it's supposed to take me back to the home page, and it has taken me back to the home page. Do you notice all this? So this is what an example of a prototype looks like. Now let me show you in comparison what the project is supposed to look like. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. What's happening here? That's interesting. Okay. So what I wanted to show you was the live site that has been built to match this prototype. So as a product designer, you are going to design solutions, and you are going to give those solutions to the appropriate individuals who have the skills to implement your solutions pixel perfectly. Like they will implement it down to the last pixel to ensure that the way you have said it, that's the way it should look. Hope that's okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So generally speaking, how would you rate this class today from a scale of 1 10? I think 1 to 10 is a very large scale. How would you rate this class? What do you think?
Yes.
Um, maybe 6.
or 6.5. Probably because of the network issues.
That's okay. So
Yeah.
I think I should have used a polling system. Let me go back to let me stop sharing this screen. Let me see whether I can go back and use a polling system. So I just quickly do a poll for me. How do you um it's this first class? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, ten. Yeah. So can you see the poll? It's live. Can you see it? Can you guys see it?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, good.
Yes, I can see it.
You can put your polls there anonymously. So I get, and you can also drop a comment on how for the network issues. Yeah, we're going to work on it for the next class to see how we can improve your experience. We can't be talking about user experience and not work on user experience for you guys. So you just keep putting in your votes. Really appreciate it. Polls. Okay, it turns out that only four persons have dropped their polls. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, you can't see.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we
Um.
can hear.
Okay, OJ say he can't see the polls. Okay, one more person has seen it. I think if you're using your phone, there should be an option to see more, and you will see the polls somewhere around there, or you will notice a difference on your screen somewhere. It's supposed to be intuitive. Now we will start taking note of designs that are intuitive. A good example of something that is a good design is it has to be intuitive. Like they don't need to tell you what to do. You can just figure it out. Like you just have a feeling that this thing is supposed to be here. Like sometimes when you get a device, you just know exactly where the on button is supposed to reside. The on button is supposed to be somewhere around here. Nobody needs to tell you. That's an example of good design. It's usually intuitive. Okay. Okay, I guess no other person is adding a vote. So thank you guys very much. And I'm glad that you were able to make it. Only one person was not able to make it to this class today. And I would do well to send the recording immediately it is processed. So let me stop the recording, and once the recording